Yeah, and I definitely think that evolution could have caused this. Again, I just think that the possibility of it is low. That doesn't mean that it couldn't have come from evolution.
If
I
if
just
you think
think
the
that
possibility is low, what are you comparing it to?
I'm just comparing it to like for the complexities that we see, it's just like it just seems impossible to me.
Okay, why is it
How?
likely that a god can create something that complex?
Because they created the whole universe, I believe so. So
So,
But
I think that
but
they can
you're
create. Yeah.
I mean,
but
the reason
so what you're
sorry, you want to go?
what you're
Go.
yeah, well, I mean, what you're suggesting is something without evidence, right? We're talking about we actually have evidence, and here's where the evidence points to. You're just suggesting, well, here's the evidence, God did it. But how do you get from the evidence to God is what we're trying to figure out.
Well, I guess it's kind of like the same thing that you guys are doing when I talk about the complexities in the universe. You're just saying that doesn't need to be formed by a god, and you're basically doing the God of the gaps, but just saying that there is no God. That's just how I'm saying that
That's
it
what
could
you're
be formed by
doing.
a god. I mean, everything.
Right.
Every time I say something, you're like, "Well, that doesn't mean that there's a God." Like, no matter you could give any evidence for it, and you could be like, "Well, that could just come from science." Like
Well,
literally anything.
no, we're saying that the evidence that we have points towards naturalistic phenomenon. Like all of the science points towards naturalistic phenomenon, and I think the DNA evidence is good evidence that evolution is true, especially because the model has allowed us to predict, hey, if we look in such and such region, in such and such geographical or geological strata, we should find an animal that looks roughly like this, even though they've gone extinct. And then we look and we find the animal because our model of the world is able to make predictions, and we can actually prove those predictions to be true because our model actually works. But there's no predictive power with the God model. You can't do anything. God says things, they don't come true. God gives prophecies, they don't come true. God said, you think God created the world with fine tuning, but children are born with bone cancer, and there's tornadoes and tsunamis that kill people at random. At average, 100,000 people a year are randomly killed. In our model, that's perfectly explained. In your model, it doesn't have an explanation unless your God is evil.
Yeah, I understand that. I think that evolution and science in general can explain a lot of things. I think that the evidence that they do have to support their ideology is sometimes very good, but there are also things that evolution cannot prove,
Like,
like like the human how the complexity of the human eye, the
well, that's
blood
Why?
clotting.
that's
Why
not hard
can't
to
it actually?
explain.
Eric, you
Okay,
do this one. I gotta use the
and
restroom.
then like a butterfly with the eyes.
Compound
How
eyes,
did
yeah.
that come about by evolution
If
with on its wings?
if you need a designer to design eyeballs, if sight is such a difficult process to evolve naturally, and it
It is
needs
very
a
complex.
supernatural creation,
It really isn't.
then why on earth are there 40 different types of eyeballs in nature? That makes
And the
no
thing-
sense.
yeah.
That makes
And
much.
the thing is, too,
Go ahead.
our rods are placed on the other side of the retina. The light has to pass through 6 different layers of the histological structure of the eyeball to get to the rods. Why would a god design that in that way?
Given that there are compound eyes that do work the other way, the vertebrate eye is wired backwards and has a blind spot. The photoreceptors are on the opposite side of where the light enters in the retina, whereas cephalopods, they have a compound eyeball, and the photoreceptors are on the side of the retina where the light enters in. This
The light-
is
light in the human
wildly it's not
It
good
is all the
design.
Light has to pass through 2 plexiform layers and 2 nuclear layers and the ganglion cell and the bipolar cells just to get to the rods. It has to go through 5 or 6 different layers just to get to the photoreceptive cells.
Yeah.
And why is that a problem?
because it is reducing the visual acuity of the rods, making so the rods in the human eye are incapable of picking up details, and they get completely turned off when there is a high light intensity, because of the fact that they are more photosensitive to light, because of them being wired in a way that makes them get less light when there's light outside. So, for example, in high intensity lights, the light gets blocked by the 5 or 6 different layers in front of it, which reduces the acuity of the eye, making things less visible and less detailed when you look at them.
You can also, something you can do is, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see me, but if you close one eye and hold your thumb at eye level in front of you, now don't follow your thumb, look straight ahead of you, but move your thumb to the side. You only have to get it not even a foot off to, in my case, this would be to my right. And then your thumb disappears from your sight completely because you don't have photoreceptors in that part of your retina. So an intelligent designer designs an eye to see that is not capable of seeing in parts of this. And our brain has to just kind of hallucinate things in a weird way to fill in gaps for you. It doesn't look like this kind of waste, fraud, and abuse is not the kind of thing that you would expect in design. I wouldn't think, because we don't create humans have never intentionally created any kind of light capturing device that by design has, a blind spot like this. The only exception I can think is a reflecting telescope, but that's because it's like literally there's no other way to do it. You have to put a device in front of the mirror, but it doesn't actually obscure the image in any way.
You're basically just saying that any kind of flaw that you can see in design is saying that the creator could have created it better.
Perfect things don't produce flaws.
Yeah, but we're not perfect, so I don't know.
So we're not the that counts as evidence against us being the product of perfect creation.
But because of sin, we're not perfect. He made us perfect. So maybe...
So Adam and Eve didn't have blind spots? They had cephalopod eyes?
I mean, they could have. I don't know.
Exactly. You don't have a methodology. We don't have anything to compare to. We don't have any justificatory pathway for assigning probabilities.